They thought I would stay silent. They thought I would take everything, smile, and never fight back. They thought I had nowhere to go, no strength left, no voice to be heard. But they were wrong. Have you ever felt invisible in the very place you were supposed to feel safe? The place you were supposed to be loved? The place you called home? I did. For years I gave everything, my time, my love, my trust. I sacrificed, I forgave, I hoped. And yet, one single moment changed everything. One day started like any other. I thought it would be ordinary. I thought it would be peaceful. I thought we would share a quiet evening. But life had other plans. That I remember walking into the house, carrying the weight of exhaustion, thinking maybe tonight, just tonight, it would feel okay. Maybe we could laugh. Maybe there would be warmth. But that warmth, it wasn't there. Instead, I was met with hostility, harsh words, a cold glance that sliced deeper than any blade. And then the ultimate betrayal. It wasn't a stranger. It wasn't someone I barely knew. It was my own child. The person I raised. The person I gave everything for. And in that moment, I realized the truth I had been avoiding for years. The pain wasn't just in their words. It was in the silence after. The silence that said, "You are no longer welcome. You are no longer needed. You are no longer seen." Have you ever felt that kind of silence? The kind that crushes you, that screams louder than any shout, louder than any fight? I had. And as the shock settled, I felt something stir inside me. A whisper at first, barely audible. You deserve better. You are stronger than this. You don't need permission to live your life. I had ignored that voice for too long. I had convinced myself that hope was enough. That forgiveness was enough. That love would fix what was broken. But hope didn't protect me. Forgiveness didn't save me. And love wasn't enough for people who didn't value it. That day I made a choice. I could let myself be crushed, broken, silenced, or I could rise. I could reclaim my life. I could protect my worth. I chose to rise. Do you know that moment when clarity hits you like lightning? When suddenly every excuse you made, every reason you stayed, every lie you told yourself falls away? I was there. And it was terrifying because for the first time I understood I had been living my life for them, not for me. But it was also exhilarating. Because once you see the truth, once you feel the fire ignite in your soul, you know there is only one way forward. That forward is not forgiveness, not waiting, not hoping. That forward is action. Self-respect. Reclaiming your life. I didn't act out of anger. I didn't act out of revenge. I acted out of awareness. Out of love for myself. And that awareness, it was powerful. Because for years I had hidden in the shadows of their needs. I had bent to their desires. I had ignored my instincts. I had tolerated disrespect because I thought love meant sacrifice. But love, true love, starts with yourself. I started small. A decision here, a boundary there. A realization that no one has the right to diminish your value. I remember looking at the house, the same house that had once felt safe, and for the first time seeing it for what it really was. A place where my worth had been questioned, my presence disrespected, my love disregarded. And I realized, I didn't belong there anymore. That day I walked away, not with anger, not with bitterness, but with power, with clarity, with the understanding that my life is mine, and my respect cannot be stolen. I took back what was mine, step by step, choice by choice. And in that moment I felt freedom I hadn't known in years. Freedom not from the people around me, but from the fear of standing up for myself. Have you ever stood at the edge of your life, looking down at everything you thought mattered, and realized that nothing mattered more than your own strength? That's where I was. That's where you may find yourself one day too. The storm of betrayal had arrived. But the storm also awakened a power I didn't know I had. The power to rise. The power to choose myself. The power to reclaim what is mine. And now, I'm not asking you to just listen. I'm asking you to reflect. To ask yourself, am I living for others or am I standing for myself? Because that choice, that single decision changes everything. And in part 2, I will show you exactly what I did next. How I turned that pain into power. How I transformed betrayal into unstoppable strength. How I took back control of my life. In ways they never expected. Stay with me. Because the real transformation is about to begin. The next morning, I woke up with a fire I hadn't felt in years. The sting of betrayal was still raw. But something inside me had shifted. I knew I couldn't go back. I couldn't pretend. I couldn't let them have the power to decide my worth anymore. I remember sitting quietly, staring at the walls of the very house that had held so many memories, good and bad, but this time I saw it differently. Not as a home but as a cage. And in that silence a question hit me like lightning. Why am I still letting them control me? I realized that life had given me a choice. I could stay small, silent, and submissive, or I could rise step by step and reclaim my life piece by piece. I knew it wouldn't be easy. Reclaiming power never is. The first thing I did was take inventory. Not of their faults, not of their wrongs, but of my own life. My finances, my possessions, my options. I remembered every sacrifice I had made for them, every favor, every dollar I had given, every ounce of love I had poured into a place that didn't appreciate it. And that's when it hit me. I didn't just want revenge. I wanted justice. Not the kind that burns bridges, but the kind that empowers me, the kind that reminds me I am in control of my life. I began planning. Quietly. Thoughtfully. With patience. Because power isn't about shouting louder. Power is about moving smarter. I started small. I checked accounts, documents, anything I had access to. I made notes, I observed, I waited. Every move was calculated. Every action had a purpose. You see, when betrayal is fresh, the world seems chaotic. But in chaos, clarity can emerge. And I began to see paths I had never noticed before. Paths that led not back to them but forward to freedom. And yet fear was always there. Fear of confrontation. Fear of the unknown. Fear of being wrong. But I reminded myself, fear is temporary. Regret is permanent. I couldn't let fear dictate my choices anymore. Not now. Not ever again. So I acted. Slowly, deliberately. I protected my assets, my rights, my life. Every small step strengthened my confidence. Every act reminded me that I was no longer powerless. And then came the moment that changed everything. I realized they hadn't expected me to fight back. They hadn't thought I would plan. They hadn't imagined I could take control without confrontation. And that realization gave me more strength than I had ever known. Because when people underestimate you, when they think your silence is weakness, that's when you can act. That's when you can rise. I want you to pause for a moment and think, how many times have people assumed you were weak? How many times have you let others define your limits? That day I refused to be defined. I refused to be silenced. I refused to be someone's afterthought. I remembered the voice that had whispered to me that first day, "You deserve better. You are stronger than this." I held on to that voice like a lifeline. And step by step, action by action, I started reclaiming what was mine. And yet suspense kept building. I couldn't show my hand too early. I couldn't let them anticipate my next move. Every phone call, every conversation, every small interaction, I observed. I waited. I listened. I knew patience was part of the plan. That patience would give me insight, power, and ultimately control. I want you to understand something important. When life pushes you to the edge, it doesn't mean you are weak. It means you are ready. Ready to discover strength you didn't know you had. Ready to rise. Ready to take what is yours with clarity and confidence. And in that moment I began to realize this isn't just about them. This isn't just about betrayal. This is about me. My dignity. My self-respect. My life. I knew the next steps would be the most critical. The moments where strategy, patience, and courage would collide. In part 3, I will reveal exactly how I took back control. How I turned fear into strategy, betrayal into opportunity, and weakness into unstoppable strength. The story is about to get intense. The tension is building. And you'll see. The real power is revealed when you refuse to be a victim. Stay with me. Because the journey from pain to power has only just begun. I remember waking up that morning with a determination I hadn't felt in years. My heart still ached from betrayal, but something inside me had snapped. No longer would I let them define my life. No longer would I sit quietly while my dignity was stripped away. I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of every unfair word, every shove, every insult. And for the first time I realized this anger, this pain, it could be fuel. It could give me strength I never thought I had. I started moving carefully. Every step was calculated. Every action was deliberate. I didn't want to react out of anger. I wanted to act out of strategy. Because real power isn't loud. It's silent, controlled, unstoppable. I began with small victories. Checking documents, reviewing accounts, making phone calls quietly. observing their patterns, their behaviors, the little signs they didn't even realize they were giving me. It was like watching a chess game unfold, and I was finally the player, not the pawn. And then came the moments that tested me the most. When I expected resistance, there was silence. When I prepared for conflict, they gave me ignorance. They underestimated me completely. And that's when I smiled. Because people never fear what they don't expect. And in their underestimation, I found my advantage. I want you to imagine this. Someone you trusted, someone you sacrificed for, looks at you and assumes your silence is weakness. That's the moment you discover your true power. That's when patience and strategy become your allies. I moved step by step, quietly but confidently. The suspense grew because they had no idea what was coming. Every small action built toward something bigger. Every calculated choice edged me closer to reclaiming what was mine. I remember the night I realized I had complete control over the situation. Every document, every key, every small legal advantage, everything was in my hands. And yet, I didn't celebrate. Not yet. Because timing is everything. The victory is sweeter when it's perfectly executed. But fear wasn't gone. Fear never truly disappears. It lingers, whispering doubts, testing your resolve. What if you fail? What if they retaliate? What if you lose it all? And I reminded myself, fear is temporary. Regret is permanent. I could not let fear dictate my life anymore. Not now, not ever again. That I want you to pause and ask yourself, how many times have you let fear keep you from taking control? How many opportunities have you let slip because you were scared of confrontation or failure? I learned a crucial lesson that day. True strength isn't just in winning. It's in preparing, strategizing, and standing firm, even when the world underestimates you. True strength is taking action calmly, intelligently, and with purpose. And then it happened. The moment I had been building toward. Every careful observation, every patient step, every silent preparation came together. I moved. I acted. I took what was mine, not recklessly, not angrily, but decisively and with undeniable power. That I want you to feel this. The shock, the disbelief on their faces when they realized the quiet, underestimated one was the one in control. That's the moment where pain turns into power. That's when silence becomes strength. That's when betrayal becomes a lesson, a weapon, a shield. And as I walked away, knowing I had reclaimed not just my possessions but my dignity, my freedom, my life, I understood the most important truth. Nobody can ever control your worth unless you allow them to. Nobody can define your limits unless you accept it. That I want you to hold on to that. Because the world will try to put you in a box, to make you small, to make you doubt yourself. But when you strategize, when you wait for the right moment, when you act with clarity and purpose, you are unstoppable. In part 4, I'll show you the most intense confrontation, the ultimate revelation, and the emotional turning point that changed everything. You'll see how patience, courage, and strategy come together to create the kind of empowerment you never thought possible. The story is far from over. The suspense is building. And the lessons? They are just beginning. Stay with me. Because the journey from betrayal to ultimate victory is about to get even more intense. The morning sun felt heavy that day. Almost like it knew the storm that was about to break. I could feel it in my bones. Something was about to change forever. Every step I took toward that house, my heart pounded, not with fear but with anticipation. The betrayal, the pain, the humiliation, they had fueled me, but now it was time to turn that fuel into action. I paused outside, taking in the familiar walls. So many memories, so many nights of silent tears, so many moments of frustration. And yet, this time it wasn't despair I felt. It was determination. I was ready. I remember the hesitation, the split-second doubt that whispered, what if they react badly? What if it all backfires? But I shut it out. Because I had realized something powerful. Hesitation kills opportunities. Fear keeps you small. And I was done being small. Done being afraid. That I stepped inside silently like a shadow. Every creak of the floorboards, every muted sound seemed amplified. I knew they didn't expect me. They never expected me. I could feel the suspense thick in the air. Every glance I gave, every move I made was measured, calculated, patient. Then came the moment. The confrontation I had been waiting for. Not a scream, not a fight, but the undeniable power of presence. I looked at them. The same people who had thrown me aside, who had underestimated me, who thought my silence meant weakness. And in that moment, the room seemed to shift. Their disbelief was palpable. I realized something crucial. Victory isn't about proving them wrong with anger. Victory is about showing them what they underestimated: your strength, your clarity, your self-respect. I began reclaiming everything that had been taken from me, not in haste, not in rage, but with calculated moves. Every document I had quietly secured, every right I had patiently preserved, now gave me leverage. They were shocked, confused, their arrogance shattered in silence. And in that silence I found empowerment unlike anything I had known before. I want you to understand this. Life will throw people at you who think they can control you, who think your kindness is weakness, who believe your love is an obligation. But your power lies not in anger, not in confrontation, but in patience, strategy, and unwavering confidence. Every step I took reminded me that I wasn't just reclaiming possessions. I was reclaiming my dignity, my freedom, my identity. And in that quiet victory, I discovered a truth that I want you to carry with you. Your worth is never determined by how others treat you. Your strength is never measured by their approval. Your life is yours to command, and no one else has the right to dictate it. The suspense, the tension, the fear. It all melted away as I realized that my calm, calculated action had done more than reclaiming what was mine. It had sent a message, a silent but powerful one. I am not powerless. I am not small. I am unstoppable, and I want you to reflect. How many times have you let others define your limits? How many times have you doubted your own power because someone else's opinion made you small? That day, I promised myself, never again. Never again would I let anyone make me doubt my worth. Never again would I allow betrayal to define my destiny. In Part 5, I will reveal the final resolution, the ultimate empowerment, the lessons that last a lifetime, and the inspiring conclusion that will leave you ready to take control of your own life. The journey is not over, but the climax is near. The suspense is at its peak. And the lessons? They are about to become unforgettable. Stay with me, because the final part will transform everything you thought you knew about strength, courage, and taking what's rightfully yours. The moment I had been building toward had finally arrived. Every plan, every patient step, every silent calculation, it all led to this one turning point. My heart pounded not with fear but with a fierce clarity. I knew exactly what I needed to do. I walked into the room, fully aware of the shock that would hit them. The same people who doubted me, who betrayed me, who thought I would quietly disappear. They were about to see strength they had never imagined. And for the first time I allowed myself a small, confident smile. Not out of arrogance but because I knew the truth. I was in control. Not through rage, not through anger, but through patience, strategy, and resilience. I began reclaiming everything, quietly, deliberately, without a word. Every document I had secured, every legal advantage I had preserved, now gave me the upper hand. I didn't rush. I didn't argue. I simply acted. And the effect was undeniable. I could see it in their faces. Disbelief, confusion, shock. They realized too late that the one they had underestimated, the one they thought weak, was the one holding the power. And in that silence I felt something incredible: vindication, yes, but also freedom. I want you to understand this: life will test you, betray you, even try to break you. But the real victory comes when you stand firm, when you strategize, when you transform betrayal into fuel, and fear into action. That is power. That is freedom. That is living on your own terms. And as I walked away, holding what was rightfully mine, I realized that the lesson was bigger than the house, the documents, or the money. The true triumph was reclaiming my dignity, my self-respect, and my life. Think about it. How often have you let someone else's actions define your reality? How often have you given them control over your peace, your confidence, your future? I want you to promise yourself that you will never allow it again. Strength is quiet. Strength is calculated. Strength is knowing your worth, acting on it, and never apologizing for standing up for yourself. And here's the final lesson I want you to carry with you. No betrayal, no insult, no hardship can ever take away what is inherently yours: your courage, your resilience, your life. Protect it, own it, and act with unwavering confidence. This story from Kentucky is not just about reclaiming a house or possessions. It's about reclaiming your power, your voice, your future. It's about proving to yourself that nothing and no one can make you small unless you allow it. Now it's your turn. Take this lesson. Carry it into your life. Stand up for yourself. Make the hard choices. And never let anyone underestimate your strength. Because your life is yours and it's never too late to take control. And if you enjoyed this story, if it inspired you to rethink your own strength, make sure to like this video, subscribe for more real-life stories of empowerment, and hit that notification bell so you never miss a story that could change your life. Share this with someone who needs to hear it today. Leave a comment below about what you would do if you were in my shoes. Remember, strength, strategy, and patience always win. Stay empowered, stay unstoppable, and keep taking control of your life. Your story is waiting to be written. Make it legendary.